top stories tonight. ECOWAS court finds Nigerian government guilty of rights violation during EndSARS protest. President Tinubu seeks way out of new minimum wage issue, invites labor leaders for talks. PDP's National Working Committee suspends South-South Chairman Dan Obi. South Sudan's security law sparks fear over rights abusers. We're glad you're here. I'm Felicity Ezewike. The Community Court of Justice, ECOWAS, has ruled that the Federal Republic of Nigeria violated the human rights of Obianuji Ude and two others. The court found Nigeria in breach of Articles 1, 4, 6, 9, 10, and 11 of the African Charter on Human Rights and People's Rights, specifically on the rights to life, security of person, freedom of expression, assembly and association, prohibition of torture, the duty of the state to investigate, and the right to effective remedy. The applicants, Obianuju Ude, Perpetua Kamsi, and Dabira Oluwa Adeyinka, alleged that these violations occurred during the peaceful protest at the Lekki toll gate in Lagos State on October 20 and 21, 2020. The presiding judge, Justice Okoroma Sengu, who delivered the judgment, dismissed the allegation that the right to life is guaranteed under Article 4 of the African Charter is violated. He, however, said that the federal government must pay each applicant 2 million naira as compensation for violations of their security of person, prohibition of torture and cruel, inhumane, and degrading treatment, rights to freedom of expression, assembly and association, duty to investigate human rights violations, and right to effective remedy. To discuss this further, I'm joined by digital, gender and media rights lawyer Muji Rayo Ugana, who was part of the team representing applicants. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Good evening.
A very good evening to you as well. The court dismissed the allegation that the right to life was violated, but upheld the federal government committed several human rights violations. In brief and for clarity, please explain the violations that were upheld and what the judgment means.
Okay, so while you were narrating what happened in court today, I'm aware that the media team of the court had misrepresented the compensation that was paid to each of the applicants. Now, in responding to your question, the right to life was not upheld.
Could you please go back? Sorry to interject. Could you please just go back to the compensation you talked about?
Okay, so for every violation, the court pronounced compensation of 2 million naira each, and the court held that there were 5 violations. So each of the applicants was awarded 10 million naira each. So it was a total of 30 million. So it wasn't the 2 million that is being carried as at now. So the court first held that there was torture, and that the situation at Lekki toll gate put the applicants in fear. And as a result of that, he found that the Nigerian government violated their rights and their rights to human dignity. And he held immediately that each of the applicants was entitled to 2 million naira compensation for that particular violation. Then he went to the violation of their right to freedom of expression, right to assembly, and right to association. And the court held that it found Nigeria in violation of these rights, and so awarded 2 million naira compensation each for the applicants. Then the court went further to say that the Nigerian government did not make reparations to the applicants, and so still held that they were to be compensated for that particular violation. Then, of course, it didn't give them access to effective remedy, and then the court also held that there was a violation and held that they were to be compensated 2 million naira each. And then the court finally held that the Nigerian government failed in its obligations, and of course, it still held that they were to be paid 2 million naira each for that particular violation. So it came down to 10 million naira each per applicant. So I was in court, and that was exactly what I wrote down, as the judge, the rapporteur was very specific when delivering that particular judgment. So it was misrepresented. Yes.
It is disconcerting, to be fair, that the amount that's been put out in the media is 2 million, whereas it's more than that. Thank you for that clarification. Let's talk about the federal government paying these monies as compensation for violations. Has there been a response from the government yet?
Okay, so I should say that when the judgment was delivered today, the government was not represented. So the lawyers in court were the lawyers for the applicants and the amicus curiae, and the amicus curiae was Amnesty International. The respondents was not represented in court. So they will be getting the news exactly the way every Nigerian will be getting the news, because they failed to show up despite having the hearing notice from the court.
So at no point during this trial, during this case, did the federal government, did anyone represent the federal government?
Okay, so the case was filed since around December 10th, 2021. And by the rules of the court, the respondent had 30 days to respond to our application. So we were trying to be as nice as possible, because after 30 days, we're supposed to file for under the Article 90 of the rules for a default judgment. But we waited all the way till 2023 because we wanted to hear from the government. We believed that we didn't just want a default judgment, and we wanted the Nigerian government to come and defend itself.
Well, I mean, it's curious though. Sorry to interject, but I have to ask this. How can a judgment be binding on a client that was not represented in court? And we know that this is not the first time the ECOWAS court will be giving rulings about cases of human rights violations.
Right? They came in 2023 and asked for opportunity to be heard. And they presented their case in 2023, where largely the defense was that the protesters were hoodlums and unlawful people gathering together in some places, and then also came up with this spurious idea that the soldiers and the police shot into the air and not at the people. But unfortunately for them, we had uncontroverted evidence that went through forensic analysis.
Yes.
And then we presented all that before the court, where it was verified. All the videos that were presented in court were verified to be
this is actually more about I'm sorry to keep interjecting, but I wanted to get out the key point from you. This is more about because it's going to come for my next question, which is compliance. The government has, on several cases, gotten ruling from the ECOWAS court, which they never responded to. What gives you the, maybe the mind that the federal government will comply this time, asking them to pay for violations? See how long it took them to even represent themselves.
Okay, so I know that there is always this bottleneck or this issue with compliance, but that was largely under the Malami administration as the AGF. We have an AGF that has proven so far to be In fact, when I got the judgment in the Delegiwa's case, where they said they should reopen investigations into Delegiwa's and other journalists that were killed, I remember that the office of the AGF contacted me directly to ask me questions, and it showed to me that the AGF's office is actually being very effective. So I'm believing that this will be the case, because the court had already even stated that if the Nigerian government do not respond to or allow us to implement its judgments within the next 6 months, we would write back to the court. We would attach it we'll write back to the court, copy the AGF, and then copy the ECOWAS Commission, so that it will be an issue of sanctions to the Nigerian government. So we're not going to just sit on our oars and think that this judgment will not be
okay, but let me also clarify something quickly. I'm told we're out of time for this conversation. The court did give a time frame, 6 months, I beg your pardon, to facilitate the implementation of the ruling, have the federal government investigate its agencies. What is the likelihood that this will happen in the first instance, and what would the court do to sort of enforce its ruling?
Okay, so I know, that's what I was trying to explain to you, that I want to believe that the new AGF is different from the previous ones. And there have been judgments of the ECOWAS court against the Nigerian government that actually the AGF's office has complied with. I know, for instance, that a lot of judgments gotten by Femi Falana SAN has been implemented. They always paid compensation. So this particular case is not a case that will be swept under the carpet, because, for instance, we are in the right path by having this kind of media engagement, and the government doesn't want to be embarrassed and over 30 million naira. I think that they can do better than that, and I believe that this particular case will be one of those cases where they would pay, because they had complained in the past that the ECOWAS court had awarded huge amounts of monies. And so now I think this 30 million is coming from the perspective of the court trying to reel out enforceable costs or enforceable compensation against defaulting states. So I'm very hopeful about this particular one.
Thank you very much for speaking with us and for the work that you do. I don't think you get enough thanks for it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. It seems the federal government is nearing an agreement on a new national minimum wage, as President Bola Tinubu has invited organized labor, including the Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress, to a meeting at the Villa today. A source within the labor leadership, speaking anonymously, disclosed that President Tinubu is keen to resolve the ongoing discussions on the minimum wage and has invited the joint union president to the meeting. The president is expected to make a decision on the 62,000 naira proposal from the government and private sector, as well as the 250,000 naira demand from organized labor. This meeting comes about a month after President Tinubu announced in his Democracy Day speech on June 12th that an executive bill or the new national minimum wage for workers would soon be sent to the National Assembly for passage. To discuss this a bit further, I'm joined by labor lawyer Ireolua Oguntuashe. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good evening.
All right, it's been meetings upon meetings to resolve this minimum wage issue, but the government has been accused of foot dragging. How sincere has the government been in handling this matter, and do you think this latest invitation for discussion would yield any tangible result?
Okay, so if we trace the trajectory of this matter, we'll recall that it's been on for some time. Now, talking about sincerity, I think the issue of sincerity, we can say that the government is showing seriousness now, considering the fact that the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria himself has, at his own instance, at his own discretion, invite all parties together so that we can find a way of resolving this. Now, one thing is sure, this matter will be resolved. The issue of the new minimum wage will be passed. The issue that we're having, or the controversy, is the amount that will be designated as the new minimum wage, which they are trying to resolve now. Now, in considering how much, they are likely to arrive at as the new minimum wage, let's also look at, the parties, in my own opinion, that are serving as obstacle to this. Now, for the state governors, they had come out to say that, see, it's not possible for us to pay the sum of 62,000 naira. That that the organized private sector, are even proposing. How feasible is this? Because one thing I see when people say something is not possible is to present, verifiable evidence, to analyze it and show how impossible this is, which the state governors, they are yet to do. Now, we need to
just not to hold brief for the governors. Sorry to interject. Not to hold brief for the governors, but we've had cases of analysts like yourself who come up and say that there are states in this country that will not be and are not even paying the 30,000 naira minimum wage. So expectations that they would even be able to comply with the 62,000 naira is unimaginable to some of them. So realistically, where does that leave the conversation?
Well, where this leaves the conversation is that let's consider the amount. They share federal allocation. And I believe that since the removal of subsidy, and according to what the federal government had even said, the allocation that they give to the state governors had increased. So the state governors should be able to come out and they should be able to be sincere, in the amount they are collecting. And we should not also rule out the fact that there has been much distrust between the federal government and the people and the state governors and the people. It was all before us that the news of our next governor of a state that paid, in advance of his child came up. And if we look at that state, they are also facing the issue of minimum wage. In fact, most of the civil servants in that state, they are here to collect salary under the supposition that the state doesn't have money, where their ex-governor had paid in advance a substantial amount, allegedly for the school fees of his child. So where does that leave the people? That exactly is the distrust that I'm talking about. So if the state governors are saying not pay, or some states have not paid, it may not necessarily be that they've not paid because they don't have money. It may necessarily be that they've not paid because there are much wastages. Is when the administration of that governor, when it expires or when it finishes, that will be hearing a lot of stories. So with all due respect to what you've said, I may not necessarily want to your views that some states have not paid because probably they are impoverished. Now, the way this country is structured, all the state has resources. What are the state governors doing in order to generate much resources that will increase the revenue base in their respective states? We practice a federal system of government that makes the state government, as a federating unit, to also be extremely independent. How are they achieving out of the federal system of government that we're practicing? I think those are the issues that should be brought to the front burner, and not the fact that the state governments or the state governors cannot pay.
Just to quickly clarify that those views are not mine. They are presented by analysts that I have spoken to over time, and that's why I made reference to that. But you did present your view as well. Some people think, though, that this invitation by the presidency is a ploy yet again to buy the labor union leaders over, and they seem to have lost faith in the labor unions. What do you think Nigerians would they be surprised after this meeting? Would labor stand firm? Or do you think there will be a resumption of industrial action?
That's a very intelligent question. Now, in relation to the attitude of labor, when the federal government calls them, we need to consider something. Labor is proposing 250,000, and the organized private sectors and the state governors are proposing between 60 to 62,000. Now, that's a wide gap or a wide disparity between 250,000 and 62,000, at least over 100%. So whether labor has compromised their position or not will now depend on what they've agreed. Now, one thing is sure, they cannot agree less than 60,000. And another thing is sure, that there is a very high level of inflation, there is a very high level of poverty, hunger in the states. And Labour seemingly, by their constitution, they're meant to represent the people. So if, for me, I don't see Labour conceding to 62,000. I see them conceding to an amount above probably 100,000. So if I'm seeing Labour conceding to 62,000, then, and my opinion is subjective, Labour may have compromised their position. But even in this situation, I don't see Labour compromising their position here, because they seem to be doing quite well. And the federal government would also, the federal government are willing, in my view, to also step up the demand. The issue that we're going to have is the state government and the organized private sector.
I mean, the best we can do.
I believe that if Labour can further press their demand to 100,000, I believe it's something that is achievable.
I mean, the best we can do is just make analysis of possible outcome. Until the meeting is done, we wouldn't know what the outcome is. We'll probably come back to you again. Thanks for speaking with us.
Exactly. Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you. Good.
The National Working Committee of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, during its 588th meeting on Wednesday, July 10, reviewed various issues, including complaints regarding the actions of the National Vice Chairman South-South, Dan Obi, related to the upcoming September 21, 2024 governorship election in Edo State. The NWC unanimously condemned the actions and statements of Chief Obi concerning the Edo State governorship primary election. The committee stated that his conduct was inconsistent with the provisions of the PDP constitution as amended in 2017 and his responsibilities as a national officer of the party. As a result, the NWC has established a 6-member committee headed by Deputy National Chairman South, Taufik Arapaja, to investigate the matter following the party's constitutions. Pending the conclusion of the investigation, Chief Obi has been suspended from participating in all NWC meeting activities and programs. Coming up, House of Representatives clarifies stance on deal on Samoa agreement. That is after the break. If you've just joined us, you're watching Tonight. A reminder of our top stories. ECOWAS court finds Nigerian government guilty of rights violations during EndSARS protests. President Tinubu seeks way out of new minimum wage issue, invites labor leaders for talks. PDP's National Working Committee suspends South-South Chairman Dan Obi. South Sudan security laws sparks fear over rights abuses. Ahead of the July 13 local government elections in Delta State, South Nigeria, 10 political parties contesting the polls have signed a peace accord to guarantee peaceful exercise across the 27 local government areas of the state before, during, and after the polls. The Labour Party protested against alleged rigging plans by the ruling party in the state. News Center's correspondent Austin Azu x-rays last-minute preparations by political parties ahead of Election Day.
Days to the local government elections in Delta State, one key assignment for the state electoral umpire is to conduct free, fair, and acceptable exercise across the 25 local government areas of the state. Here at the DSEC office in Asaba are selected members of the 10 political parties contesting the elections across the 500 political wards and 5,863 polling units in the state to sign a peace accord for the exercise. Each of them appends their signatures on the documents before the security agencies, affirming to maintain peace with their followers before, during, and after the elections.
We have asked you to come here so that you can guarantee us that when you get back to the electorate, which is the grassroots, that you tell them to play by the rules.
In another development, a chieftain of the APC in the state, Ayeri Emami, at a campaign rally at Ogbejo, Warri Southwest local government area, alleged ringing plans by the PDP in Saturday's elections. Elsewhere, members of the Labour Party in the state, led by the state governorship candidates at the 2023 state election, Kempela, are on the roads and streets of Asaba, leading into the commission's office with a call on the electoral body to give all political parties a level playing ground for the election. One of their concerns was disqualifying some of its candidates in some local government areas from contesting Saturday's election.
All right, the people's will must prevail. If they win fair and square, no problem, we will go home. All right, but if they try it this time, we will be prepared for them, starting from now and on to 2027.
I can assure you that we are not going to compromise at all. The outcome of the elections will be determined by the barometer of the ballot box. And we are going to convey the wishes of the people via the ballot box.
The PDP has concluded their statewide campaign with a mega rally of the party held in Asaba, where the state governor insisted on free, fair, and acceptable polls on Saturday.
I believe in free and fair election. Una vote for me, free and fair. Abi, if you think say, okay, they go write result, they make my own. They plan say they go write result, they feel write result. So any result that is not genuine will be rejected. Yes. And whether councillor, whether chairman.
Meanwhile, the state electoral umpire has insisted on using the INEC voters register list of 3,221,600 voters for the local government elections on Saturday. In Asaba, for News Central, Austin Azu.
The House of Representatives has dismissed reports claiming it called on the federal government to suspend the implementation of the Samoa Partnership Agreement. On Wednesday, House spokesman Akin Rotimi clarified the situation. Rotimi stated that lawmakers had resolved to investigate controversial clauses in the agreement to ensure they do not violate the provisions of the 1999 Constitution as amended. Contrary to media reports, Rotimi emphasized that the House urged the government to engage in widespread consultations and stakeholders' engagement regarding the agreement. The Samoa Agreement, signed on November 15, 2023, establishes a new legal framework for the European Union relations with 79 African, Caribbean, and Pacific countries, including 48 African, 16 Caribbean, and 15 Pacific nations. Several experts in Nigeria have called for an outright review of the adoption of genetically modified organisms and their role in the food and agriculture sector, saying there is scientific evidence of its detrimental effects to the health of humans. This was as they converged on the nation's capital, Abuja, to engage and share knowledge on raised concerns surrounding the adoption of GMOs.
Of genetically modified organisms, also known as GMOs in Nigeria's agricultural sector, has been a subject of intense debate among health advocates and scientists in the country. With Nigeria being among 11 countries in Africa that has adopted GM crops like cotton, cowpea, maize, soya beans, and wheat, their acceptance has been shaped by worries about its health implications and impact on the ecosystem.
It has been proven from research that we are sharing with you that these agents are promoting diabetes even in young children. Has it not baffled you that today young people who are not even fat are going down with hypertension?
They will not come to say they want to do GMOs to know how to end floods or grass. It's usually genes of commercial interest. In Nigeria, it is cassava, it is...
They say a lot that there is insufficient research, but we're telling you today that there is more than sufficient information to establish the fact that these things need to be reviewed.
These experts converged on the nation's capital, Abuja, to give their perspective on the adoption of GM crops in Nigeria, saying the use of some imported toxic chemicals for farming should be interrogated.
Nigeria is one of the largest importer of pesticide use. The last data from 2020, we're using about 147,000 metric tons of pesticides in Nigeria. We've been doing this since God knows when. But have hunger reduced, not just in Nigeria, all over the world? Have these chemicals reduced hunger? The answer is no.
The accused agencies in the country saddled with the responsibility of regulation to have been compromised, insisting that citizens should be given the right to choose what they eat.
South Africa is one of the first countries that approved commercialized GMOs. They rejected this so-called telomeres, but they brought it to Nigeria. And I don't think NEMA, if I go and pose as a developer and apply for permit, NEMA will give it to me. They are just in random. I don't know if they think they are marketers instead of regulators, because they have not acted in the defense of our biodiversity.
They say they want the adoption of GMOs in the country to be interrogated, insisting that there is scientific evidence of its danger to the health and well-being of citizens.
Still ahead, South Sudan security law raises fear over rights abuses. We'll tell you more after the break. The international community has joined calls by South Sudan's opposition and rights group to scrap legislation they fear could entrench human rights violations by a powerful state security agency. South Sudan's Transitional National Legislative Assembly last week approved amendments to a law that would enable the National Security Service to continue to arrest without warrant anyone accused of offenses against the state. But there are concerns that the bill, which needs to be approved by President Salva Kiir, could further restrict civil society as the country prepares for long-delayed elections. The world's newest nation is scheduled on December 22 to hold its first polls since independence from Sudan in 2011. Let's go over now to our business desk for today's stories.
Business news in association with Money Master PSB, the easy way to master your money.
In business, the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, NERC, has implemented stringent penalties for electricity distribution companies not meeting consumer standards. Penalties include a 5% cut in administrative and operational expenses for DISCOs failing to distribute 95% of allocated energy. DISCO's performance will be evaluated on 7 key indicators such as energy takeoff, energy offtake, revenue recovery rate, and compliance with various norms. Non-compliance will lead to fines and possible enforcement actions. NERC anticipates these measures will enhance service standards and secure the utility's long-term sustainability. Still in West Africa, Ghana's consumer inflation rate decreased for the third successive month to 22.8% in June, down from 23.1% in May, as reported by the Statistics Service. The drop in non-food inflation to 21.6% played a significant role, counterbalancing a surge in food inflation. The West African nation, renowned for its cocoa, gold, and oil production, is working hard to recover from an economic downturn. Last week, it made significant progress in restructuring its international bonds with official creditors, verifying that the proposed debt restructure was not unduly advantageous to bondholders. Egypt's urban inflation rate has been decreasing for 4 consecutive months, reaching 27.5% in June from 28.1% in May, according to the National Statistics Agency. This trend continues from a peak of 38% in September 2023, as the government has adopted an inflation targeting model and a flexible exchange rate. However, analysts warn of potential disruptions, including price increases in regulated goods like fuel and medicine. Despite these challenges, Egypt is undergoing extensive economic reforms supported by an $8 billion financial aid package from the International Monetary Fund, IMF. And finally, in East Africa, Ethio Telecom, the state-owned telecom company in Ethiopia, reported a more than 20% increase in full-year revenue and net profit for the year ending in June. Revenue rose by 22% to 93.7 billion birr, which is approximately $1.63 billion, while net profit increased by 21% to 21.79 billion birr. The company also observed a 9% rise in total subscribers, reaching 78.3 million, and a significant increase in Telebirr financial service customers. The government is considering selling a 10% stake in Ethio Telecom through a local stock exchange. However, recurring security problems, legislative changes, and concerns about the government's commitment to economic liberalization have deterred investors in Ethiopia's telecoms industry. And that's our offering on business news at this time. Thank you for watching. I am Perpetua Fasomipita. The news continues shortly. Bye for now.
Business news in association with Money Master PSB, the easy way to master your money.
Let's now bring you the latest in sports.
Sports Update, brought to you by Corn Oil. Corn Oil, we go the extra mile.
In the world of sport, the Nigerian Cricket Federation NCF has set the stage for an exhilarating cricket face-off against Kenya following the unveiling of a formidable 15-man squad for the upcoming 7-match T20 International Series starting on Friday. All 7 matches of the series will be played at the Sikh Union Club ground in Nairobi from July 12th to 17th. Ranked 32nd in the T20 International Team Rankings, Kenya will be in high confidence after reaching the final of the recently concluded Kenya Quadrangular Cup 2024. On the other hand, the Nigerian national cricket team, currently ranked 37th in the T20 International Team Rankings, last participated in the African Games 2024 held in Accra, Ghana. Led by captain Sylvester Okpe, Nigeria failed to qualify for the semi-final after they finished at the bottom of the Group B standings. Kenya have a dominant head-to-head record against Nigeria in the T20 international cricket, winning 6 of the 7 matches played between the two sides. The Sport Ministry has announced that 87 individuals will represent Team Nigeria in 12 sports at the 2024 Paris Olympic Games. The ministry's announcement revealed that athletics has the largest contingent, with 35 athletes. Nigeria's women's national football team, the Super Falcons, are the second largest contingent, with 18 players registered for the women's football event. The national women's basketball team, the D Tigers, also have a large squad with 12 players on the roster. Others include wrestling with 6, table tennis with 4, boxing with 3, canoeing and weightlifting with 2 each, while taekwondo, swimming, cycling and badminton have 1 athlete each. In addition, Nigeria will compete in 4 Paralympic sports. The nation has a long history of success at the Paralympic Games, winning 40 golds, 19 silver medals and 21 bronze for a total of 80 medals. Paris Saint-Germain ladies have announced the signing of Nigerian football star Jennifer Echegini. The Super Falcons midfielder has signed a 4-year contract that will keep her with the French club until June 2027. Echegini joined PSG from Juventus Women, where she spent only 6 months. In that short time, she made a significant impact, scoring 10 goals and providing 1 assist in 16 games. Her performances helped Juventus qualify for the UEFA Women's Champions League, earned her a spot in the Team of the Year, and she was named the best young player of the season. Earlier this week, Echegini posted an emotional farewell message to Juventus fans, indicating her desire for a new challenge. She has expressed her excitement about joining one of Europe's top clubs in France. Finally, in the world of sport, Los Angeles Clippers star Kawhi Leonard has withdrawn from Team USA and will not play in the upcoming 2024 Olympic Games, USA Basketball announced on Wednesday. USA Basketball then announced that Derek White of the Boston Celtics will replace Leonard on the roster. Leonard's camp expressed concern to USA Basketball 2 days prior to this announcement after Leonard missed the last 8 games of the 2023-2024 regular season because of a right knee injury. He attempted to come back during the Clippers' first-round series against the Dallas Mavericks, but after appearing in Game 2 and 3, he was sidelined again. Team USA's first exhibition game is on Wednesday against Canada at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. And that's it in the world of sport. I am Onyinyechi Obaru.
Sports Update, brought to you by Corn Oil. Corn Oil, we go the extra mile. Entertainment news in association with Glow Unlimited.
On Entertainment Tonight, streamer Spotify has unveiled its global impact list in Nigeria, highlighting the top 30 Nigerian tracks with the most significant global impact in the first half of 2024. This list showcases Nigerian songs that garnered the most listens from outside Nigeria between January 1st and June 30th, 2024. Female artists, particularly Ira Star and Thames, are leading the charge with top-ranking hits from their recent album releases, The Year I Turned 21 and Born in the Wild, respectively. Their success underscores the influential role of female musicians in the Nigerian music scene. The list also emphasizes the prevalence of international collaborations, with 8 of the top 10 tracks featuring partnerships with global superstars. These collaborations, which include Feels with Usher and Burna Boy with 21 Savage and Metro Boomin, highlight the cross-cultural appeal and growing global impact of Nigerian music. The hit songs on the list demonstrate the continuous rise of Nigerian music, connecting to new listeners globally through collaborations and social media popularity. Shakira is set to perform at the Copa America final on Sunday, July 14th, as announced by CONMEBOL on Tuesday, July 9th. This marks the first time the Colombian superstar will perform at the prestigious national soccer tournament. Shakira will take the stage during halftime of the match, which kicks off at 8 p.m. at the Hard Rock Stadium in Miami, with an expected audience of around 54,000 attendees. Alejandro Dominguez, president of CONMEBOL, in a statement said Shakira is an extraordinary South America star who has dazzled the entire world. Her songs are sung and danced to in every corner of the planet, turning her art into a global phenomenon that crosses borders and is enjoyed by millions of people. We are sure that her performance at the Copa America USA 2024 will enhance the message of healthy passion and unity through sports. Her hit song Ponteria, featuring Cardi B, is the official song for Televisa Univision's 2024 Copa America CONMEBOL coverage. The tournament, held in the United States, features 16 teams from CONMEBOL and CONCACAF and began on June 20th, concluding on July 14th. Shakira, known for her electrifying performances at global events such as the Super Bowl and 3 World Cups, is expected to entertain fans with a mix of her classic anthems and new hits. That's all on Entertainment Tonight.
Entertainment news in association with Glow Unlimited.
Moving away Away from entertainment, let's take a look at what's trending. As hashtag Free Ayo and Netflix Naija are trending on X after Nigerian actress and film producer Toyin Abraham was accused of having an ex-user named Big Ayo arrested. The controversy began when Big Ayo allegedly insulted Abraham, accusing her of using money from President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for her husband's hair transplant. A close associate of Big Ayo took to X, claiming that Ayo and his mother were arrested by Abraham. The actress has strongly denied these allegations, even addressing them in an Instagram live session on July 10, 2024. During the session, Abraham clarified that she did not have anyone's mother arrested and asserted that she was exercising her democratic rights. In response to the controversy, many ex-users are calling on Netflix to remove all Toyin Abraham's movies from the platform, while others are urging her to release Ayo. The debate continues to gain traction on social media. Let's look at some tweets. At Ajebo Dani, if Ayo is not released today, we will start mass reporting Toyin's Instagram page and then move to sending mails to Netflix. These are the official emails. Netflix Naija, Nigeria.support@netflix.com, Nigeria@netflix.com, Netflix Global, help@netflix.com, hashtag Free Ayo. At Ugo Tweets, they already tagged Toyin Abraham as a bully on her Wikipedia page, hashtag Free Ayo. At Chief Agbabiaka, defamation is a big crime in case you don't know. So if you want to free Ayo, then tell him to provide the evidence that Toyin Abraham collected money from Tinubu and used it to do hair transplant for her husband. Walai, he'll be free immediately. At Uncle Ayo, I have done my part by reporting Toyin Abraham to Netflix. I urge you to do the same. Netflix Nigeria, Netflix.support@netflix.com, Nigeria@netflix.com, Netflix Global, help@netflix.com. Defamation is met with lawsuits, not police arrests. Hashtag Free Ayo. And that's all on what's trending.
And that's all tonight, but before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories. ECOWAS court finds Nigerian government guilty of rights violations during NSAS protests. President Tinubu seeks way out of new minimum wage issue, invites Labour leaders for talks. PDP's National Working Committee suspends South-South Chairman Dan Obi. And we also told you that South Sudan security law has sparked fears over rights abuses. Would love to hear from you. Please send your eyewitness report to the number showing now on your screen, or you could follow us at News Central TV on social media to do that. You can also watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and on YouTube. Many thanks as always for watching. Have a good night.